Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
Hilton brings you new ways to stay, with experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
There are people out there all across the country pushing boundaries to grow the game of golf. Like champion speed golfer Lauren Cupp, who plays faster than anyone else. And Will Lowry, whose work in the golf community inspires more kids to get into the game. As a champion partner of the Masters, Bank of America supports everyone determined to find out what's possible. In golf and in life. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America. Bank of America N.A. member FDIC, copyright 2025, Bank of America Corporation, all rights reserved.
No breaks, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome to another episode of British Speedway's official podcast. Heading into a bank holiday weekend, there's lots to chat about, including reaction from the meetings on Monday night in front of the TNT Sports cameras. It was a bad night, though, for Oxford.
Just told them by heat 7 to be 22 down is not acceptable. You know, it's as simple as that. I haven't come here to put a show on like this. Boys need to pull their socks up.
More reaction from Kings Lynn versus Oxford. Also reaction from Perry Barr as the Birmingham Brummies slip to yet another defeat, this time at the hands of the Leicester Lions.
We are so disappointed. I think everyone was expecting a difficult match, but we really wanted to win, and maybe too much.
We'll hear more from the Birmingham Brummies team captain Tobias Michalak in a short while. Our main guest in this week's episode, with the TV coverage getting underway on TNT Sports in both the ROWE Motor Oil Premiership and the Grand Prix Series, we've got the host of both. We've got Abi Stephens with us.
Part of the experience is becoming more confident when the riders push away and don't want to do the interview. That makes great telly. So I don't want to stop, because that just shows they care, you know, like Jason Doyle's massive for it in the Grand Prix. You know, there's times where I'm like, oh gosh, really? Am I gonna go there?
And Stewart Dickson joins us to look ahead to a big night in Leicester and a big weekend ahead for the Berwick Bandits.
It's Friday and Sunday. We're looking to get as many points as we can if we can get any, and sandwiched in between it Saturday night, Knockout Cup to Redcar. Another one of the fancy teams in the league.
All this and much more to come on British Speedway's official podcast. No breaks, no fear.
No breaks, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome along, another packed episode, and we'll start off at the venue for the first televised fixture of 2025 on TNT Sports, the Adrian Flux Arena, as Kings Lynn hit top form for the first time in the ROWE Motor Oil Premiership with a 59-31 thumping of Oxford in Monday's live TV fixture. The Stars romping to 4-5-1s in their opening 5 races to put the match beyond the Spires, who suffered further problems when Charles Wright was withdrawn after a crash in Heat 10. All 7 home riders won at least one race, with Richard Lawson top scoring on 10+3. Jan Kvek collected his first paid maximum in British Speedway with 10+2. Spires captain Maciej Janowski won his last 3 rides to finish on 12. But those were the visitors' only successes, really, and Wright is awaiting medical reports at the time of recording this on his hand. Let's get some reaction then. First of all, let's hear from Richard Lawson, top scorer for the Kings Lynn Stars.
It's been a good night. I think actually our scores haven't reflected the pre-season. Like, we've had mechanicals and a bit of bad luck, and I think tonight is a night it's all come together.
Has anything changed? You know, have you boys had a particular different talk before ahead of tonight or anything?
Not necessarily. Like, we never stop believing in ourselves, especially at home. And I think the track's a little bit grippier than normal. I don't know if that was intentional or not, and I think that's suiting us well. Clearly, it looks like it is. So, I think once you start getting a good start, getting winning races, the confidence just flows.
It does. And Kings Lynn is an away rider and as a home rider, is a confidence track to ride. You have to attack it, but You faced these guys earlier in the year, so it's interesting for me, the team talk. It's got Simon Lambert in tonight in place of Rob Lyon, but is there that kind of, do you analyse the riders and kind of keep an eye on him and you can rough him up and stuff like that?
Definitely. With any meeting, that you know what kind of to expect from certain riders, and I expected these guys to kick on mid-part. I think that's what happened in the previous meeting, but we've kept our end up, and it feels good.
Yeah, great night for the Kings Lynn Stars. Another bad night for the Oxford Spires, who are really finding life tough in the ROWE Motor Oil Premiership so far this season. And a frustrated Peter Schrock also talking with Scott Nichols on TNT Sports.
You asked me to be kind on you, but I'm not. Can you enlighten us a little bit on what the team talk was about? Because you giving them a fair going over.
Yeah, no, I just told them by heat 7 to be 22 down is not acceptable. It's as simple as that. I haven't come here to put a show on like this. Boys need to pull their socks up. There's no way that this team, Kingston is much better than us. They just feel they're obviously a lot stronger in their heads at the moment. The track is a little bit grippy, so you've got to attack it a lot more. And I haven't seen that. I haven't seen them going into the first corners the way they need to win races here. So, and I made sure that they know about it. And I'm not happy about it, but I'm just trying to salvage it now. And I told them we need to sort of walk out of here with our heads up, hold high. So I don't want this to get any worse. That's for sure.
Meanwhile, Leicester made it 2 successive away wins with a 50-40 victory at Birmingham, who await their first points of the ROWE Motor Oil Premiership season. The Lions opened the meeting with 5-1s in the first 2 races, and although the Brummies hit back to make it a bit of a contest, a maximum for Max Frick and Sam Masters in Heat 13 virtually ensured the visitors' success. Each of the Leicester riders won at least one race, with Frick unbeaten until Heat 15, when home captain Tobias Mujalak produced an excellent move from the back. Frick scored 12+2, Masters adding 10, Mujalak scoring 12 from 6 rides for the hosts. We'll hear from Stewart Dickson in a moment, but first of all, the Brummies team manager Chris Adams with Ryan Guest.
It was a little bit better than the last time that Leicester was here, but not much, to be fair. It was an awful start in our first 2 heats, but we sort of managed to claw it back a little bit in the middle, but we just tailed off at the end.
Like you say, you have to try and get yourself out of this losing habit as well. It was something you experienced when you were assistant here last year. So what have you been saying to the boys after that one?
There's been lots of issues. Obviously we're missing Mate, that's a big kick to us really. But there's a few issues which they had. Last time we was here, it was a blue groove and dust everywhere. So track staff has tried to accommodate for that. So that the track's a little bit different, but no excuses. Leicester's a real good team, and very very tough to beat here, especially with them lot.
From the club's management point of view, what is the latest with Matty?
It's just a waiting game with Mate. The visa was applied for months and months ago. We're just waiting for it to be finalised. Apparently it's pending, so we've just got to wait on that. But obviously, the club's suffering for it.
Yep, certainly so. And just finally, we've seen obviously Toby growing in confidence around here tonight, but at the other end, Antti Vulas is going through a real tough time of it at the moment.
Yeah, he's certainly struggling. I don't think he was in the same race tonight, from the ones that we were watching. So there's certainly things that we need to be thinking of. Now, this was the cut-off point for everyone, really. They all know that. So, we'll just have to see what lies ahead now over the next few weeks.
Yeah, we'll see that. And next Monday, home and away against Oxford as well, who are going through their own struggles as well. How important does that doubleheader become?
Well, every meeting's very important, but certainly with how they're going, it's a must win for us.
Well, it was a victorious night then for the Leicester Lions. Let's hear from their team boss, Stewart Dickson.
Yeah, a lot closer than it was the opening night. Fully expected it to be the case. We got a very good start, obviously 8 points after 2 races. We kind of let Birmingham back into it, to be honest, with a bit of misfortune here or there. 1 or 2 things we need to be cuter at as well on the track. But all in all, I'm happy we got the win. 2 points on the league table, a further 2 points on the league table, and my whole team contributing throughout, which is pleasing.
Yep, certainly so, and it's a second away win in the ROWE Motor Oil Premiership in the space of a week as well.
Yeah, which is important. As I said, without being disrespectful, other clubs will target coming to Perry Bar to try and win. I know that the dogfight that we're in for what we're trying to achieve this season, we're trying to get to before it gets to the serious stuff. We just need to keep doing what we're doing. We are doing well. Points throughout the team is a pleasing thing. Last year we were getting 5-1s in Heat 1 quite a lot with Richard Lawson and Max Fight. We tended to lose 5-1s in Heat 2. Very pleasing tonight to see my reserves getting a 5-1 in Heat 2.
Yeah, and like you say, everyone chipping in, but Max Frick and Luke Becker seem to be forming a real solid opening partnership in the early stages of 2025.
Very good, strong partnership. I was keen to put Luke to number 2. He wasn't so keen on the idea. I think he's came round to it now. I do like a very strong number 2 because if you win the toss, you get the inside gate in Heat 1. And the way tracks are prepared to Great Britain, there's always a bit of moisture in them, sort of thing. So if you can hit the front, he's away. They seem to be riding well. They work together as a team. But all in all, good feeling in the pits as you'd expect. Good win, 50 points to 40. Pleased with that. Birmingham put up a good fight. It was a better meeting as well.
So the Birmingham Brummies also still hunting their first points of the season in the ROWE Motor Oil Premiership. Let's hear from captain of the Brummies now, Tobias Mujalak, who, whilst having a decent night for himself, left frustrated by how things have turned out for the team as a whole. I think his first phrase really sums things up.
We are so disappointed, and I think everyone was expecting a difficult match, but we really wanted to win, and maybe too much. And yeah, we can only say sorry to the fans and also to the boss, but we are struggling and we're still trying to find anything what is working well on this track. And I think I found some base really on the end of the meeting, so hopefully this thing can work another meeting.
Yeah. How difficult is it as a group of riders when you've got a month into the season and you are still waiting for that first win?
Yeah, we trying to swap our experience on with the setups, and of course some of the riders are struggling much, some of them a little bit, but the day will come. That's for sure. That more riders will be on good level. And I am confident about those guys, and we have a really good team, but we just need more time, and it will come, that's for sure.
For yourself as well, a much better night here at Perry Bar. Obviously a new home track, but certainly seem to be growing in confidence, particularly with a stunning ride in Heat 15 to deny Leicester another 5-1.
Heat 15 of course gave me a lot of confidence. So we were playing with the setups whole meeting again, but at the end of the day we found something. So that's the good base. We hope to get it better even, and of course I want to start the meeting a little bit harder, because something is completely wrong on the beginning of the races.
It's Tobias Mujalak, and of course it comes off the previous round of fixtures last week where the Brummies suffered at the hands of the Ipswich Witches, who moved 5 points clear at the top of the ROWE Motor Oil Premiership table with an emphatic 60-30 home win over Birmingham. The Witches hitting the 60-point mark for the third time in 3 home matches in all competitions as they continue their 100% record overall in 2025, recording 7 5-1s in the meeting, with Jason Doyle scoring 11+1. He went unbeaten with the exception of a crash in Heat 6. Skipper Danny King had a 10+1. Tom Brennan with 10 won his first 3 races as well. Danish star Michael Jepsen Jensen was the impressive star for the Brummies, including wins in his first 2 races, and their 30-point total was the highest of any visiting team to Vauxhall so far this year. Let's hear now from the Witches co-promoter Chris Louis speaking to Jason Harold on BSN.
Chris Louis is just on his way to the cash point. Another big payout for you guys tonight, Chris.
Thanks for reminding me. Look, I'm pleased for the lads. They've made a really terrific start, full of confidence. So, it's nice. I've got a feeling that Monday week, Bank Holiday Monday against Kings Lynn, is going to be a real tough test for us.
The guys in commentary were saying that anybody that comes here have really got their work cut out, and it gets to the point, I guess, with some teams, it gets psychological when you come to places like this.
I mean, it can do when a team starts well. You sort of ride into places and you get the feeling people are looking at you thinking, oh, what we got to do to beat them, and that's always a nice feeling. I don't think we're there yet, but we've made this place a fortress so far. As I said, I think certainly against King's Lynn on Bank Holiday, I think they're going to come here determined to do well. It's a local derby, and they're going to be a tough team to beat. When they all click, they're a very, very solid side. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a real test for us.
Meanwhile, the Sheffield Tigers kept up their strong home start to the season with a 57-33 win over Oxford at Oleton. Jack Holder scoring 13+1. Skipper Josh Pickering with 11 leading the way for the Tigers, who also scored heavily at reserve as well. Leon Flint having a good one at 9 points, winning 3 races, and new signing Louis Kerr contributing 8+1. The Spires were only 6 points down with 6 heats remaining, but a hat-trick of Sheffield 5-1s and 3 4-2s in the other races saw the hosts pull clear. Rowan Tungate notched an encouraging 10 points for the visitors. A great night then for captain Josh Pickering, who's been speaking to Ryan Guest.
Yeah, not bad at all, mate. All the boys chipped in and done their bit. Obviously some new faces back into the team again, and me and Chris changing numbers again as well, which for me in the middle race order, I didn't really know what to do with my bike, because you've got to follow the track, race in, race out. So another good experience for myself personally, and another great result for the team.
A real strong start once again, opening with those 2 5-1s, but then fair play to Oxford, they kept it tight, even moved back to within 6 points after Heat 9 with that tactical substitute, but it was such a strong finish from the team collectively.
Yeah, for sure. As we did, we got off to a great start, and then I thought we were sort of away with it, and then when they did do the tack sub and I spoke to Steady and he said there was only 6 in it, I thought, oh shit, we've got to get into gear here, so then all the boys just done what they had to do, and cream rose to the top.
Yeah, certainly did. Obviously, it's been a week of change for the Tigers as well, with Louis and Justin coming in. Two boys who can fit straight in because of how they know the other members of this group.
Yeah, it's a shame to lose Denyon so early in the season. Lovely person, and it's just Speedway, unfortunately, it is a numbers sport. Obviously, if Ty didn't get that injury when he did, there'll be no changes done right now. He could continue to learn and adapt and move on, but I've been in a similar situation before. The numbers got me on the end of it, but look, we're here to try and build a team that's going to be at the pointy end towards the end of the season. We were lacking in an area, and I feel like once Louis and Sedgie settle themselves back in here, Anders and Leon continue to grow. Like Leon rode awesome tonight, didn't make any silly mistakes. He won 8-2, which is what he's been wanting to do. So I feel like on a collective 1 to 7, everyone can take positives out of it. Me, myself, everyone's getting negatives, and we look at them and we work on them to do better. So great effort for the club, and keep the winning roll going. Hopefully Bellevue home and away.
Yeah, a couple of general points as well to look ahead to Bellevue. From your own individual, I think after those first 2 tonight, I think it was 9 races unbeaten, I think it was. You were around here. We've seen a massive change in your gait in towards the back end of last season, and particularly the start of this season. What is it that's changed so drastically?
My engine. You need a good engine. So Big Ash Tech, cheers brother, and John Alworth serves it for me in the UK. So I've got a great setup going there, so Ash does me stuff abroad, and John does me stuff here, and does an unbelievable job, and obviously it proves enough to win races.
And just how impressed have you been with your own start to the season as well? Obviously, there's people will say there's tougher challenges ahead, but at the end of the day, those teams have still had some big name riders in them.
Oh man, there's no one in the league that we haven't versed that we now can't beat. Yes, everyone's talking about Ipswich and stuff, but who cares? They're the same team they've done the last couple of years. They've got Doyley, they've got Emil. It's just how it is. They've got riders that they're trying to develop and bring on, which they are doing so at the minute. But I still feel that we can beat a team on aggregate home and away anywhere we go. So that's the attitude we'll continue to keep. And Damo and Steady and Mark, how they made up the configurations to make the team what we have, is the reason why we're going to be in a good situation at the end of the year. But me personally, you just said about how pleased I am. It's more of it's a weird one, mate. It's if I have a bad night, I'm pissed off. But if I have a good night and I'm unbeaten, I don't feel any emotion. It's like I know I've done a good job, but that's what I have in my head that I can do and I can achieve. So anything below that is not a good night. So I feel like what I'm doing currently is what I felt like I should have been doing 2 years ago. So everything happens for a reason. Timing's everything, and what's meant for you won't pass by you. So we'll keep moving on.
And we will look ahead. That Bellevue, obviously, it's a bumper Bank Holiday Monday coming up as well. And that rivalry against Bellevue here at Sheffield is something you've really brought into as well for the club.
Yeah, War of the Roses always need a bit of a challenge, you know. So Edinburgh, Glasgow, that was me derby in the championship, and can't really beat that. And moved on now to Bellevue versus Sheffield. So same thing, mate. They've all got great riders, but they've all got riders can be beaten and have been beaten. So we'll just go there with a nice winning attitude, and hopefully we get some good travelling support both home and away, and hopefully come up with the goods.
Well, as was mentioned in that, a couple of new signings for Sheffield, filling in the void left by Ty Wuffernan, really. Unfortunately, Daniel Hume has had to make way, but the two new signings, Louis Kerr and Justin Sedgman, coming into the side, both of which have previous with Sheffield as well, even in recent years. And we can hear now from Justin Sedgman.
Yeah, it definitely was something I definitely wanted to do. Obviously, it was a bit indifferent start for me. I had a few problems in the meetings that I had done, and Speedway's a funny game. I had one good meeting at Glasgow, and then the next day the phone rings. So very unfortunate of what's happened to Ty. I think everyone is agreeing with that, and you know, Sheffield are now in a position where they needed to do something because the 28-day facility is over, and you know, I would rather see him in a better position than what he's in, but obviously Speedway's like that in the sport, and you've got to take the chances if they're available to you, and just best wishes to him, and hopefully he gets a full recovery.
It's obviously another stint here as well. You've had many in the past few years, and a club you felt unlucky to be released by last time you were here as well, so coming back with a point to prove maybe?
Not really, because if you've seen the teams they've put together over the past couple of years, they've been pretty good teams. You know, they've always done it within a reason, and obviously, you know, they've had Jack and Chris and Ty all come into the club, and unfortunately it's a bit of a numbers game, and it doesn't really matter how good you do. If it doesn't work coming to the new season, it is what it is. So now I'm in a position where I've got an opportunity to go out and do a few meetings with Sheffield. They haven't done as many as others, so let's just make hay while the sun shines.
So that's how things have been looking over the last week or so in the ROWE Motor Oil Premiership. And looking ahead to the fixtures coming up, of course, it is another bank holiday weekend ahead. No fixtures on Thursday because it's the British semi-final. We'll hear again from Stewart Dickson in a little while, having a conversation with him about that and also about his team in the championship, the Berwick Bandits. But looking ahead to the next round of fixtures in the ROWE Motor Oil Premiership, some double headers coming up as well. Bank holiday Monday, Bellevue versus Sheffield at 12 o'clock at the National Speedway Stadium. Oxford versus Birmingham at 1 o'clock, and Ipswich versus Kings Lynn at 2:15. And then we've got some reverse fixtures coming up in those as well. In the evening, Birmingham versus Oxford at 7:30 and Sheffield versus Bellevue at 6:30 p.m. So note those times down. 7:30 for Birmingham Oxford, but 6:30 for Sheffield versus Bellevue on Bank Holiday Monday evening. Don't be late. We've also got action in the National Development League as well. It's the Scunthorpe Sheffield Steelers versus Bellevue Colts. That's taking place at Sheffield following the Premiership fixtures. That's why it's starting at 6:30. It's a double header, so extra speedway on Bank Holiday Monday in Sheffield with the National League meeting after the Premiership. Don't say you don't get value for money there. Then looking ahead to next week, we've got no action then on Thursday, and then so a bit of a barren spell in the ROWE Motor Oil Premiership for the next week or two, leading up to the British final on May the 12th. So whilst there is a bit of a gap in proceedings, there is plenty going on the individual front as well. Coming up in the next part of No Breaks, No Fear, then we'll be talking about the British final, because that is the next fixture that's going to be on TNT Sports from British Speedway. Of course, the Grand Prix series gets underway this weekend, heading to Landshut in Germany for round one of the Speedway Grand Prix. And we will speak to Abi Stephens, who fronts the coverage on TNT and Discovery Plus. And speaking to Abi next on No Breaks, No Fear.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Llévate más de lo que esperas todos los días con el nuevo McValue en McDonald's. Ahora puedes comprar uno y sumarle otro por $1. Así que cuando tu equipo favorito enfrente a sus rivales, enfrenta tus antojos con $5 Meal Deals. Y si estás corriendo para alcanzar el desayuno, corre al app para llevarte ofertas antes del cut-off. Tú decides, y con McValue, tu decisión siempre rinde más. Precios y participación pueden variar. BOGO $1 válido para un producto de igual o menor valor. Debe estar registrado en Rewards para ofertas en el app.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
No brakes, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome back. Now, if there's one question that gets asked about Speedway, it is, when is the Speedway back on the telly? Well, the answer is, it's back now. It started on Monday at Kings Lynn, and coverage of the ROWE Motor Oil Premiership on TNT Sports is very much underway. TNT Sports, the home of Speedway for the Grand Prix Series as well, part of their portfolio of motorsport, particularly focusing on bikes, including MotoGP and many other events as well. And the person who will be fronting the coverage of both the ROWE Motor Oil Premiership British Speedway coverage and the Speedway Grand Prix Series is once again, of course, Abi Stephens, who's joining up with Kelvin Tatum and Scott Nichols. And she's with us now. Hi, Abi.
Thanks for having me.
And welcome back to our screens as well. Now, I know that you're no stranger to this podcast because I've heard that you have mentioned it on the telly in the past too. So I know you're a listener.
Ian, I seriously am. I love it. And I've got so much to thank you for because I can't hold too much information in my brain at any one time. So if I'm preparing for the Grand Prix, I absolutely love it because on the flight home, I'm like, okay, that's that round done and dusted. Let's now listen to Ian and get ready for the Monday, wherever I've got to travel to. And you just equip me with everything I need to know.
Well, hopefully your journey home from the first Grand Prix will be all right because it'll be you that's on it. So there's that. But hopefully there'll be plenty of knowledge in there. How's it been then getting involved in Speedway? Because a little bit about just tell us a bit about your background. Really, you've worked in other sports, broadcasting, and other bike sports as well. But Speedway, I think, was relatively new to you, wasn't it, when you started?
Well, the bizarre thing is, Ian, it was my first ever sports broadcast.
Was it?
Yeah, it was with Sky Sports. I've still got the DVD of my debut. Actually, even before the debut. So I'm trying to work out the year. I think it was around. Let me get this right. Was it 2007? So a long time ago.
Way ago then.
Now, so it's small world. It's crazy how these things happen. It was Sarah Algin that was covering it and on Sky Sports, and she couldn't do the start of the season. So it was about 4 meetings, if I've got it right, because of she was just coming off maternity. Now, I knew her agent. I competed in a lot of sport, not motorsport, hasten to add, but was really sporty and was doing a lot of TV stuff, but not in the sports world, even though that was, to be the perfect fit. So I was sent with another female. It was so bizarre. And I think we went to Swindon and we had to do an audition, and it was interviewing Greg Hancock, which now, like I spoke to Greg a couple of days ago because obviously we've got the Grand Prix coming up, and I do so much with him on Grand Prix and will do more so this year. So it's full circle. But that was my first ever experience in sports broadcasting, and it was bizarre that it was Speedway. And I remember being absolutely freezing. I remember the first time having someone speak in my ear while I was speaking at the same time, couldn't hear anything, the smell of methanol, it was just baptism of fire. So I've literally gone full circle, but that experience led to a load of motorsport, lots more initially in four wheels. So I went and did Formula Ford on Channel 4, a series called Super League Formula that had former Formula One drivers in it. Then went on to Motorsport Tonight, was a weekly motorsport show on BT Sport, and we covered everything 2-wheel, 4-wheel. I then from that went on to MotoGP, and I did that for a number of years, first for BT Sport and then for TalkSport. And then this opportunity with Speedway came up, and that came up because I had worked with the producer on the World Rally Championship, and I'd covered that for a number of seasons. So I went into rugby, I went into boxing, I did the Olympics, but motorsport is been my backyard, really.
Wow, so I didn't realise that Speedway was the thing that you're thrown in there, and that's kind of really in at the deep end, isn't it? Because Speedway, I don't think it's a very hard sport to busk your way around. Do you know what I mean? If you're thrown in at the deep end there, because it's not a widely known sport. The intricacies of the rules, and I think when you're speaking to like team managers or riders, that they know it inside out, and so you can come unstuck very quickly. Actually, I think,
and the fans know it inside out. Ian, let's get this right as well. They know so much, and it is like if I was thinking of MotoGP, we were set up around the back in the paddock. It's relatively quiet in comparison, obviously, when the bikes come past. But when you think of somewhere like I don't know, like Overton, and you're right in the mix of it. And I remember Steve Brandon, obviously massive legend of the sport, a feature of the sport. And I can remember in 2007, he moving me into position, and it was so nerve-wracking. And you can get caught out, like you say, you can get caught out really quickly. But I've always loved research. If you could see where I'm at now, obviously with the first broadcast on TNT on Monday, I've just got stuff everywhere. I talked about listening to your podcast. I always love chatting to Dave Rowe when I get on site. So I do love the research aspect, but it was still a massive one to be thrown into. I can just remember I said drivers, and the director screamed in my ear, "They're not drivers, they're riders." And all I could think about was that I was going to say drivers again. And I was like, to forget anything else. As long as I didn't say drivers, that was a success. But it's mad how it's all come about. And my parents are from Poole originally. So my granddad used to take me and my brother like years back. My brother used to race motocross. So it's, in some ways, it felt like it's bizarre to be so ensconced in it. In other ways, I can join the dots a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. You have got a connection to it then, definitely. And I think as well, when it comes to the research and stuff, that when you get to the middle of the season, probably sort of from now onwards, really, and especially when Sweden gets going, these riders are, your notes can actually be out of date very quickly because they're riding in Poland, they're riding in Sweden. There's so much stuff happening. So you can say, well, they've done this, that, and the other, but they might have done something else in the last 24 hours that's actually quite important. It's and there's sometimes few reports come from those meetings as well. So it's very hard, isn't it?
Exactly. It's I have so much respect for Speedway riders. Those guys that are doing 3 leagues and the Grand Prix on top of it. Honestly, I was looking at my flight back from Warsaw and my train up to Manchester and to Bellevue for the British final, and even that needed a bit of like logistics and arrangements, coming back to a toddler and then get back on the road again. I'm like, that's so simple compared to what these guys have got to do. But you're right, so much happens, but people in Speedway love it. So even though you don't get those direct reports, particularly from Sweden, people chat and people tell you that there's just so many people on hand to bring you up to speed, because it's such a community that they love chatting about what happened. So as long as you're part of that conversation, you soon can find out what you need to know.
Yeah, and starting off then with the British coverage. By the time this goes out, because we're recording this pre the weekend, but you're heading to Kings Lynn first. So when people hear this meeting will probably, hopefully, weather permitting, have happened. But then your next one after that, you got a couple of week break. But then it's British final. So that is, you're in very much in at the deep end. You've got a little starter there at Kings Lynn, and then off to the British final, as you say, with the Grand Prix slammed in the middle there as well. So it is really hotting up for you.
It's one of those weird things that the off season feels so long. It feels like this long winter, and then you go into like this crazy sprint. But it's not a sprint. Like we know, like if we're talking about the teams that are looking already so strong in the British Premiership, you know that Speedway is an attritional sport. A couple of months in, things could be very different. So it is a sprint, but for them, it's a sprint over 6 months. But it does come thick and fast after what feels like this long winter.
Yeah, and so your fixtures then that you've got. So sort of first half of the season, I suppose. You've got Kings Lynn, Oxford, British final at Bellevue on the 12th of May, Bellevue versus Leicester the week after that, so big time in Manchester there for you coming up. Then Birmingham versus Kings Lynn, Leicester, Sheffield, Ipswich, Leicester, Oxford, Bellevue, and then Sheffield, Birmingham. So, yeah, it's going to come thick and fast over the course of the summer, and then after that it'll be the playoffs and what have you, so obviously we don't know where they're going to be just yet. I think we can probably hazard a guess that one of them might be Ipswich, though, who have been really setting the pace and have blown everybody away so far, including Bellevue as well. So they really have turned some heads, but really it does seem to be sort of already the league is starting to sort of take shape, I think, isn't it now?
Yeah, it is. Ipswich, I mean, they just look so mighty, don't they? It's such a solid outfit. It was last year, and I just think actually Tom Brennan's made it even stronger. But they, unless barring any injuries, and we saw two of the worst ones last year in their team, they red hot favourites. And obviously with Chris Louis, I've travelled a lot with Mr. Louis on the Grand Prix circuit. There's been a number of car journeys with him at the wheel, Kelvin trying to give some sat-nav instructions, and it blows my mind seeing as though they've done that circuit, been to all those venues numerous times. We will still get lost. But yeah, there's obviously you have to be impartial. I can't have favourites, but just spending the time with Chris and his dedication and knowing when things went wrong last year and we're on Grand Prix, he would be trying to sort out, he'd be trying to get guests, as all teams and all managers, but being so close to that, I just know that they would have felt so hard done by the unfinished business last year. So yeah, to come back with that kind of continuity and then make it even stronger, I think, they're the team to beat.
And you do see a different side of Speedway, I think, don't you? Being in a car like that with Chris Louis and Kelvin, I'm sure they've got some great tales as well. Maybe some of them will send you to sleep. I don't know, but not all of them. But you do see a different side of Speedway there. You spend a lot of time working with the riders, interviewing them and so on. But that is a drama. And when a rider goes down, it could be a rider that goes down in Poland or wherever, and they've got to get on the phone then and try and find a replacement at the last minute sometimes.
Yeah, again, just so much respect for anyone involved in Speedway, because like you say, it's a difficult sport. It's simple on paper when you think about what they do. It's pretty simple, but it's got so many layers of complexity and the headaches for riders with injuries and team managers and they earn by the points that they get. I'm so emotionally invested into the success of these guys. It's just extraordinary what I think. I've just got mega respect. I mean, the horrific accident with Ty recently, I think it's such a serious reminder of like what these guys are doing day in, day out for as their career, for our entertainment, and putting their bodies on the line. But the part of traveling with the Speedway, that's made such a difference to my experience. I love the British Speedway, but you go and you broadcast and everyone is quick to leave because the riders will be, like you say, be in Sweden, Poland, and Grand Prix at the weekend. wherever you're based, you've got probably quite a bit of a drive after the end of it. But the really usefulness about that time at airports and on flights and driving to the Grand Prix is you've just got so much time to cement more relationships, and it makes those interviews easier because you've started to get to know them as a person. You've grabbed a coffee with them at the airport. It's just you see them in little civvy clothes. It's just such a different ball game. So you've just got a different narrative to draw on when, again, the producer shouting in my ear, but he doesn't need to because I know the story. I know if something's majorly happened in the heat, I know who I want to speak. And a lot of the time they don't want to speak in between heats, and I get it. But I also know that the fans will want me to speak to them because that's part of telling the story. So just having those moments where you've kind of connected to them as humans beyond the pressure moment of when it's a live broadcast and they're competing for glory, for money, for their team, everything like that, just makes a huge difference.
It's a really good point, actually, that, I think it's like anything, isn't it? If you know someone better, it's easy to have a conversation with them, but it can be quite daunting when you're first in the pits and you've got to go up to a rider and stick a mic in front of their face and try and get those interviews. I remember doing it, and it wasn't so long ago, where you're in the pits for the first time. I remember the first time I was in the pits, it was at Redcar, and it was a really heavy track, and they said, stand with the riders over there on this little sort of watching area they had, and the riders stand next to me and they've all got their helmets on. I thought, well, that's because they're going out for their ride next. Anyway, the first heat, they come round and all the shale comes over the top. I'm filled in, covered in the shale, head to toe, and then I've got to go and interview people looking like I've just done a lap. And so I learned the lesson the hard way there. But yeah, you build up this rapport, don't you? And the longer you're in it, you've been doing it now a few years, of course, and they all know who you are, and obviously you see them multiple times a week, the guys that are in the Grand Prix, and that rapport actually sometimes gets more out of the riders, and you get a better interview as well that you wouldn't get if, with sort of a journalist they didn't know.
Yeah, I think it makes a massive difference. I think a lot of interviewing, you're trying to establish some trust, that I will ask, and I will put a microphone in their face at those moments where the last thing they want is a microphone in their face. But hopefully you've developed that trust with them, that they know that you're not there to catch them out. You're there to get a sound bite from them, and that some riders will give much more. And actually, I think part of the experience is becoming more confident when the riders push away and don't want to do the interview. That makes great telly. So I don't want to stop, because that just shows they care. Like Jason Dorr's massive for it in the Grand Prix. There's times where I'm like, oh gosh, really? Am I gonna go there? I think I can't remember who he said it. It was in Teterov a few years ago, but I think he said, I can be an angry little sausage, can't I? And it was live on air. It was choice words. I was like, yeah, you could say that. But it's brilliant television, and it shows his passion. It shows how much he cares and how invested he is. So I still want to go for that, and I don't take any of that personally. Whereas I think when I started out, that also adds to how nerve-wracking it feels, because you feel that is a personal assault on you. It's not at all. I had it in Sheffield last year when there was a really bad crash, and it was to Ben Cook, and I can remember just seeing Josh Pickering and Jack Holder, and look, Pico is brilliant, and I've got a great connection with him. A lot of the time we're messaging about various things in Speedway, when I think he's just a brilliant choice as captain. I think he'll add so much. He always, even if he's got 30 seconds to get out, the clock's ticking down, he'll give you one word, and it's so entertaining. But he was like, no, Abby. And I've never seen him do that. But, he was protecting, which is why I think he's going to be a brilliant captain. He was protecting his teammates because he knew how shocking it was for Jack Holder in particular, who was good friends with Cook. So I totally get it. But all of that is part of the fabric of live television. So you don't want to shy away from that, because that's what makes it real. It makes it raw. It makes it human. It makes it personality driven beyond the heroics that they're doing on the track.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people have seen that moment at Sheffield. It was a scary moment, but thankfully I want to say Ben's all right. He is all right from that now, but of course he's broken his wrist again. So he's on the sidelines now. So we were with him the other night actually at pool, and he's on the sidelines for a good few weeks. But it just shows how certainly those Aussie boys, they're all from a lot of them are from a similar area, or if not, they've ridden together for years. So they've got that connection, haven't they? And on the Grand Prix circuit, then you're heading off to Germany for the first one of that, and then you got Warsaw soon after as well. So the Grand Prix scene is coming thick and fast, and I guess the question there is, can anybody stop Bartos this year?
I know, and that is the $1 million question. And Ian, I genuinely hope so. I really hope so. Like, look, again, the word respect can be so overused and interviewed, but so much respect for what Bartos does on that bike. As a non-speedway rider, but someone who's been around the sport, he and knowing that the bikes have no brakes, he looks like he's braking and then going off again at speed. Like, it's what he's doing on the bike is extraordinary. And his team, they're just such a slick unit. But for the sport and for jeopardy, you just want someone. I say week in, week out, and I know it's a 10-round series, but every single round you don't want it to be, Jason Dorr 1 week and then Robert Lambert and then Jack Holder and then possibly Freddie. You want someone, and hopefully more than one, consistently pushing him, and to make it a more exciting series. Take nothing away from how brilliant he is. You just want for the sport it to go down to the wire. You really do. Let's hope that it's not raining in Voyens in September, but you want it to be like those last few heats, just paramount. You don't want it to be 5 rounds in and go, oh, he's running away with it again.
And we're talking about going to Manchester a couple of times. You'll be going at least another 2 because there's 2 Grand Prix. Well, another ones, I guess, 2 Grand Prix. And that obviously relates to the British final, because whoever wins that or isn't already a Grand Prix rider will get 2 wildcard dates for the British Grand Prix at Manchester as well. So there's a lot riding on that British final, but a lot riding on those 2 Grand Prix too.
Yeah, and I think it'll be really interesting. I mean, we see it at Speedway of Nations last year. Like, it can be so different one day to the next. And National Speedway Stadium is such a brilliant stadium, and it's such a fast track, and it holds weather well. You'd hope it'd be nice during the summer, but who knows? But it could really serve, like, you can go to, and I've heard the riders say, you can go to National Speedway one stadium, just think you're so dialed in and you're smashing it, and then you go there and you've got exactly the same equipment and you can't make it work. So I think having it back to back should be really interesting. Let's see what it throws up. But I'm with everyone. I'm going to miss the Principality Stadium. I love walking. It can take an hour to walk what could be like 2 minutes to get to the stadium, because everyone wants to chat and talk about Speedway. There's such a buzz around the city. But Mark Lemon and the guys at National Speedway Stadium, they put on a great event with the Speedway of Nations. So let's see what we can create in Manchester. It's a brilliant track.
Indeed, I'm looking forward to seeing you on the TV, and you'll be partnered up with Scotty Nichols. He's back involved as well, isn't he? Just looking at the team there, Kelvin,
yes.
And on all the rest of it. So, yeah.
Scott Nichols' jacket has just been delivered to my house.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Why have I got Scott's jacket? I tell you, I feel like sometimes I'm having to mother these boys. I'm like, right, I've got your kit, we're all sorted. If you've got your passport, you've got your tickets, but no, look, Scotty, it's the same thing. Speedway riders say, when you're having fun, the points come. Like, the fact that, I adore Kelvin and how crazy he is. He won't mind me saying that. It's just, he's such brilliant value when he's telling you a story. It's so compelling. And Scotty, he's a very, very good mate. And that makes things, so you just feel then you're chatting to your mates. You don't feel, I've done other broadcasts where it's not, you're not working as one unit, and you feel it. You're just looking over your shoulder. Someone might be trying to catch you out. It makes such a difference when you are producing something for fans and for the sport and for the riders, but you feel part of it and you're doing it with your mates, and it's a joy.
So looking at the fixtures coming up then for British Speedway specifically, rather than the Grand Prix, we've got the British Final May the 12th at Bellevue. May 19th, Bellevue versus Leicester. May 26th, Birmingham versus Kings Lynn. June 9th, Leicester versus Sheffield. June 23rd, Ipswich versus Leicester. July 7th, Oxford versus Bellevue. And July 14th, Sheffield versus Birmingham. There are remaining TV dates to be scheduled, all on Mondays, July 21st, August 4th, August the 11th, August the 25th, and then all the playoff fixtures will be televised through September. So that's the plan for British Speedway. That's in addition to coverage of the Speedway Grand Prix Series, which gets underway this weekend on TNT Sports, also available on Discovery Plus as well, and that will be from Landshut in Germany for round one of the Speedway Grand Prix Series. So plenty of Speedway coming your way on TNT Sports with the regular team, Kelvin Tatum, Scott Nichols, and of course all fronted by Abi Stephens. And thanks for joining us, Abi.
Ian, thank you. It's so nice to chat.
Abi Stephens from TNT Sports. In the next part then, we switch the focus a little bit more towards the Cab Direct Championship. It is a big weekend for the Berwick Bandits, racing 3 times in 3 days. And on top of that, Stewart Dickson's got the British semi-final at Leicester. Stewart Dickson joins us next on No Brakes, No Fear.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Uh-oh, the last cookie.
You can get a new box of cookies in as fast as an hour with Walmart Express Delivery.
Are you my guilty self-conscience?
No, I'm the voice offering you promo code EXPRESS for free delivery on your first order.
Hey, who ate my cookies?
You mean, these cookies?
Order now. Welcome to your Walmart. Promotion valid for first express delivery order. $50 minimum subject to availability. Restrictions apply.
Sergeant and Mr. Smith, you're gonna love this house.
Bunk beds in a closet?
There's no field manual for finding the right home. But when you do, USAA Homeowners Insurance can help protect it the right way. Restrictions apply.
No Brakes, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
In the final part of this podcast, then, the focus is very much on Stewart Dickson. Why? Why, you might wonder, when Leicester are heading into a bit of a break in their fixtures? Well, the answer is, for Stewart Dickson, he's got many plates to spin, not least as co-promoter and track curator at Leicester Lions. Leicester, the hosts of the British semi-final on Thursday to decide the remaining riders to head through to the British final later on in May. And then, with his other hat on, of course, he's team manager of the Berwick Bandits, and they've got a very busy bank holiday weekend. 3 meetings in 3 days, racing Friday, Saturday and Sunday. And, of course, they come off the back of a win last weekend as well, their first points on the board in the BSN Series. Earlier on, I spoke to Stewart Dickson to talk about all of those things, but started by reflecting on Monday night's victory. 24 hours later, his thoughts on how Leicester are going in the ROWE Motor Oil Premiership so far.
Yeah, well pleased to get another 2 points on the league table. Puts us on to 6 points for 5 matches. You know, it's not a perfect start, but I think it's pretty much a decent start. Important to try and, you know, 1 match is away from home, which I think that, you know, obviously I look to the ones I think we've got a chance in more than other ones, you know, and that's just being realistic. And it came to fruition last night and sent the Leicester support home happy, which was good.
Obviously, you a long way to go yet, but you're in the chasing pack. Obviously, everybody's chasing Ipswich at the moment, but clearly already we've got a couple of teams that are getting cut adrift at the bottom. But it's important to stay in that mix at this point. It's looking like it's going to be 4 from 5 already, isn't it? Even at this early stage.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's a couple of clubs struggling at the bottom, you know, but things can change in Speedway quite quickly. Birmingham showed enough last night. If they get Matty Zager back, that you know they'll certainly get better. Oxford, also, they've not got their troubles to seek at the moment. So, they'll get experienced guys there, the management, etc. I'm sure that they can turn it around. But as you're rightly saying, the pack is getting away for them. There's 5 teams now. Let's pull a little stretch on, and let's be honest, in the league table, it doesn't lie. We have Kings Lynn actually coming up in our next home meeting, and when you look at the league table, that's a very big match already very early in the calendar. That is a big meeting for both clubs.
Leicester now have a bit of a break in their fixtures, and you've got a couple of weeks now to prepare for those. But not to say there's no action at Leicester, because on Thursday, there is no ROWE Motor Oil Premiership action because everybody's pausing for the British semi-final, which is taking place. And a really big event for Leicester to be holding on Thursday night, and the weather's set to be fantastic as well. Yeah, you mentioned the weather, which is good. So we hopefully, supporters will travel. It was not too far from the travel. Obviously, we are streaming it as well, which could be good for clubs who want to check in on their riders. There's obviously a couple of riders, Leicester riders, current riders in the 16 on Thursday, and then there's a real mix of Leicester, past riders in the mix as well, with the Thompson twins. You get Conor Mountain in there as well, Craig Cook coming back, Louis Kerr. So listen, it should be good. I look at it and it looks pretty competitive across the field. It should be. I know we don't have the high class heat leaders like Max Frick, etc., Jason Doyle on show, but for me, 20 heats of action, and there'll be a lot of riders going for that those top 6 spots to get into the showcase event, which is Bellevue. So here is the full lineup, and this is draw order as well. At 1, Drew Kemp. 2, Alfie Botel. 3, Craig Cook. 4, Lewis Kerr. 5, Jordan Jenkins. 6, Dan Gilks. 7, Jason Edwards. 8, Ashton Bowden. 9, Connor Mountain. 10, Leon Flint. 11, Simon Lambert. 12, Daniel Hume. 13, Nathan Ablett. 14, Dan Thompson. 15, Joe Thompson. 16, Ben Barker, and the track reserves will be Max Perry and Tom Spencer. So quite a few riders there, Stewart, who have got either current or previous experience of the Leicester track. Many of them fairly handy around there. Where's your hunch then? Who do you fancy might do well out of that bunch?
I think the Thompson twins will be in with a shout because of their knowledge of the Leicester track. Obviously, it's changed slightly with the camber on the bank and more evenly now. Craig Cook, if anybody's seen him at Berwick last Saturday, Andrew Kemp, they've got to give him a chance. I'm sure Louis Kerr will want to get himself in the mix. Dan Gilks will be keen to prove, that he can get round his new home track. And then there's always 1 or 2 spoilers. So at least if there's a bit of dirt around the outside. Simon Lambert, somebody like could come into the reckoning. You just don't know. Conor Mountain's another one. He's a strong gator. He can win races round Leicester. So it's not an easy question you've asked me, but I think there's a few that've got a chance.
So that is on Thursday night, and we'll select the final remaining places for the British final, which takes place later on in May. Let's talk about Berwick. You've got a very busy weekend after that, with Berwick riding Friday, Saturday and Sunday. And of course you come off that first win of the season as well. Only a couple of meetings in, but you must be pleased to get that first win on the board over Edinburgh in the BSN Series. You weren't there in person, so I know that you were on the sidelines yourself. But a great win by the boys, obviously going right to the very end as well.
Yeah, it was. Edinburgh pushed us all the way, and I think the fact that we're getting close scores certainly keeps the meeting exciting. The action on track, it wasn't fantastic, but there was a couple of good races. But the spearhead at the top, that Craig Cook is providing, which we'll be badly needing at Berwick. He's given us that. Drew Kemp's that man possessed around Berwick, and as you rightly say, we now have Edinburgh away on Friday, home to Redcar in the Knockout Cup on Saturday, another competition starting for us, and then we go away to Glasgow on Sunday at 6 p.m. when hopefully the mayhem from the Old Firm game at 12 o'clock on Sunday has calmed down a little bit in the city centre.
Oh man, I didn't realise it was the Old Firm game. What a weekend! So yeah, with Edinburgh, of course, Edinburgh, they've had 2. Heat 15 defeats in the BSN Series, the hands of Glasgow, and then yourselves on Saturday night. So they are really desperate to get back to winning ways. But for Berwick, a win at Armadale would really keep you in the mix, wouldn't it? Ahead of that trip to Glasgow on Sunday evening.
as you rightly said, was missed out in the last couple of meetings last week decided. Again, I'll emphasise it's good for the supporters that the meetings are close. Obviously, Edinburgh will try to do something a little different this Friday and come out on top. We do go there. It was still in with a chance of qualification, even if it's the second highest place. So we know what's at stake. Obviously, Jack Smith comes in and makes his debut for us, as we felt it was time to make a change with Bastian, who I think needs rest more than meetings, because I don't think he's doing himself any good or the club any good riding through the pain barrier. So big weekend, 3 matches in 3 days, and Friday and Sunday we're looking to get as many points as we can if we can get any, and sandwiched in between it Saturday night knockout cup to Redcar, another one of the fancy teams in the league, and we'll need to be on our A game to try and get some sort of lead to take Redcar.
Yeah, and on that team change, of course, you mentioned there about Jack Smith. Bastian Bork was the rider that made way, and as you mentioned, he had that big injury at Poole, didn't he, last year, that he's never recovered from. He's still finding it hard coming in with ice packs on his leg, wasn't he? To the swelling's not going down. So you felt really in his interests, really, as well as the team, that that a change, at least for the time being, was necessary.
It was. I spoke to Jamie about it early on Sunday morning. As you rightly say, I wasn't there on Saturday night. I wasn't too well Saturday during the day. We spoke about it, and I know Bastian doesn't agree with it, and that's what I expect. I expect any rider that I'm not saying a rider will con you, but they'll try and say that they're fit, because they want to keep their team place, and he would have thought that he could build up his fitness. Unfortunately, we can't have a rider building up his fitness at the expense of Berwick. You look at the match again on Saturday. For me, it's too close for comfort. If Bastian of last season's racing, he's scoring 4 or 5 points in that meeting, and that's me being conservative. He's scoring. He doesn't look like the rider who was racing last season, and the injuries maybe just took a bigger toll on him than what we all thought. And listen, there's no saying that he's out of the picture. He's gone completely. We need to wait and see if he can get his fitness levels up, or if he can overcome this injury, because it was a very serious injury. I was there that night at Poole. He ate a horrible crash right in front of me coming at the second bend, and he's always in a bit of discomfort.
So Jack Smith comes in the place of Bastian Bork. Does this mean a change to the riding order? Because obviously Bastian Bork was in the main team. So where will Jack Smith fit into the Bandits?
Jack knows what's required of him. He's 26. He's not a kid anymore. He's been about. I did go through Speedway updates and look at his scores last year for Glasgow, home and away. And obviously initially when he came into the team, I think he scored 10 plus 2 in his first meeting. He can score. It will result in a shuffle of team riding. Sam Hagan, unfortunately for Sam, will move up into the main body of the team. Something that was the only thing that concerned me slightly. And Jack obviously would take up the reserve spot. I think it's fair to say, I'll be open and honest, we tried to sign Nathan Ablett up until Sunday night, until the averages changed, because we could have fitted him in with his British reduction. But just being away for work so long, his dad been away for work the length of time, Nathan was pretty honest with us, and he couldn't do it. So we knew Jack would be keen. Jamie made the phone call to Jack to get the deal done, and I was left with the not so nice phone call with Bastian Bork. We took a wee turn. I think Jamie get a better job out of those two.
Many flip sides of Speedway, isn't it? Obviously, they've got to take the rough with the smooth. Thanks for joining us, Stewart. Always good to catch up, and all the best for what's going to be a busy 4 days for you. 3 meetings with the Berwick Bandits over the course of this weekend, and you can see 2 of them on BSN. The trip to Edinburgh on Friday, and the trip to Glasgow on Sunday will be on BSN. And of course, you've got your own live stream on Thursday from the British semi-final at Leicester on Thursday night.
Yep, definitely. Thanks for having me on, Ian. And just finally to say, a big hopeful prayer that Charles Wright's, I know he's at hospital at the moment, I think he's getting x-rays, hopefully he's okay. I like to watch Charles Wright racing Speedway, it excites me, and hopefully he's in the red car team leading his team at Berwick on Saturday night. So all the best to Charles. Yeah, nice words, Stuart. And you're due to face red car, as you say. You've got them this week and next week as well, haven't you? Yep, next Friday we go away from home, so hopefully we get some sort of lead.
Stewart Dickson, team manager at the Leicester Lions and the Berwick Bandits, and of course promoter at Leicester. And Leicester the venue for the British semi-final, Thursday night, 7:30 the start time. So looking at the fixture picture for the week ahead, Wednesday, April 30th, BSN Series action returns to Oxford. The Oxford Cheetahs taking on the Plymouth Gladiators. Oxford 48-41 up at the halfway stage in that tie overall. 7:30 the start time there. National Development Trophy action between the Kings Lynn Young Stars and Birmingham, and that is at 7:30 as well at Kings Lynn. Thursday, we're into a new month, May the 1st. British semi-final, as we mentioned, 7:30 at Leicester. Friday, May the 2nd, we've got action at Armadale. Edinburgh Monarchs versus the Berwick Bandits and Redcar Bears versus the Workington Comets. Both of those have live streams in the fact that Edinburgh will be also on BSN on Friday night with their clash against Berwick, and it's 43-47 in favour of Berwick at the halfway stage there. Saturday, we're into the Maxi Cab Knockout Cup quarter-final. We just heard about it there from Stewart. Berwick versus Redcar at Shieldfield Park, 7 o'clock the start time. BSN Series, Workington versus Scunthorpe. That starts at 3 o'clock. That one also live on BSN. As is the clash on Sunday between Glasgow and Berwick. That's at 6 p.m. at Ashfield in the BSN Series. National Development Trophy, Leicester versus Birmingham. A 3 o'clock start time at Leicester for that. And then Bank Holiday Monday, ROWE Motor Oil Premiership. We've got Bellevue versus Sheffield at 12 p.m. at the National Speedway Stadium. Oxford versus Birmingham at 1 p.m. And then later on, we've got a clash between Ipswich and Kings Lynn, the Old Farm Derby, 2:15 the start time there. And then in the evening, return legs of a couple of fixtures. We've got Birmingham versus Oxford, who meet for the second time in that day. That's at 7:30. And Sheffield versus Bellevue, that's at 6:30. Reason being, they've got National Development League action after between the Scunthorpe Sheffield Steelers and Bellevue Colts. That's straight after the Premiership fixture. So there's two meetings on the cards at Sheffield on Monday night. A very busy bank holiday weekend ahead then. Have a great time, whatever you're up to. Take in lots of Speedway, either in person. If you can't make it in person, of course, you can watch the live streams. And we look forward to reviewing it all for you. Same time next week. Join us for another episode of British Speedway's official podcast. No brakes, no fear.
No brakes, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.